Baptiste, what's going on?
Hello, guys.
What's up? Welcome to the European Technology Show. It's a pleasure to have you here. We've got me, Seb, and Luke. Baptiste, you're on a bit of a tear recently. Jumping straight into it, could you give us like an intro to who you are, what do you do, and then a 1 minute pitch on Fleet and a 1 minute pitch on Early Builders as well? Go.
Yeah, sure. Cool. Nice to meet you all. Yes, I'm VP Growth at Fleet. I joined the company 4 years and a half ago. And on top of that, I also co-founded like Early Builders. Yeah, that's basically what I do.
And talk to us about Fleet specifically. What does Fleet do? What is what is the premise with Fleet?
Yeah, sure. So Fleet, what we do is that we help SMBs and scale-up startup to scale their IT management. We're a bootstrap company. We're doing more or less like 25 million revenue with a good EBITDA with 40 people. So we don't have like the revenue per employee of AI startup, but I think we like good and lean startup, growing a lot. We grow by 60% last year. We're gonna grow like by 100% this year probably. We're doing 70% percentage of our revenue coming from international markets. So yeah, we're growing, but by staying lean. And Early Builders, basically, it's a community of early employees to help them navigate through their journeys in early stage startup. So we all know that, those kind of Swiss knife, you need to juggle between a lot of different responsibilities. And the idea is that we start in Paris, gathering people from top startup. We're around 100 people more or less now. And now we recently, like 6 months ago, expanded to Berlin. And we're about to expand to London in Q4. And yeah, that's a quick pitch about Fleet and Early Builder.
Awesome, man. I know that. So you just mentioned like the growth with. We'll do Fleet first. I really want to get into Early Builders as well, but just on Fleet first. The growth at Fleet has been pretty crazy the past sort of year. I saw a comment you made. You were really early at Fleet. You were like super. What employee number were you? You were like right at the start.
I think I'm the oldest employee in the company right now.
Okay, wow. So yeah, super early. I think it was a comment from you or maybe your founder, sort of laughing and joking around where like someone had asked about the growth the past year, and you'd said like we had to go through a few years of nothing like what we're seeing right now. Could you talk us through that journey, how it feels now to actually see that kind of hockey stick, I guess you could say?
Yeah, I think the point is that growth is not linear, We initially start in France, we grow quite a lot, especially because one of the data points that we have looked at quickly is the number of hiring, so the number of equipment needed. So, within the startup bubble in 2021, we grew like crazy. And then we stay a bit flat because the startup market went back to normal standard, I would say. And then we expand to new markets, Spain, Germany, UK, currently the US and other market as well. And now we're seeing, all the hard work that we did during those flat times paying off. So yeah, it's super exciting. But the point here is that you cannot expect to grow, by X% always. Sometimes it's more like, you have some growth phase, and then you need to build, consolidate your team, make strong choices, sometimes meaning firing people. And then you saw the results sometimes paying off a bit later. So the point behind is, sometimes it's not about the short term, it's more about like medium and long term. But when you do the right choice, you see the result paying off later, and that's what we are seeing now. So it's quite exciting.
Amazing, exciting stuff.
Amazing.
Should we move on to Early Builders?
Yeah. Let's
questions.
Yeah, I'd love to. Early Builders then. So I mean, you guys had a crazy 2024. Which is, I'm looking at what we've got down. It's like 120 plus active members from startups like Mistral, Pivot, Dust, 600 plus applications from early operators across Europe. Launched Germany. You've got 2 affiliates working in Germany under the Early Builders brand. You've had over 5 public events, all sold out. Speakers from Payfit, Trade Republic, Anchor Store, Swan, Spendesk, Gorillas, Forto. 10 expert workshops on partnerships, inbound recruiting, 300 plus subscribers, director of Station F, JC from 20VC, and an expansion coming to London. How have you managed to do all of this? Like, what's your team set up? Because you're juggling 2 jobs.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think the idea is just about hustling, and what do you want to do with your life. And I think it's an initiative at a personal level and with other founding members that help us to, day to day, I would say, like if I take Fleet, we expand quite a lot into new markets and help early builders help me with that. Doing some partnership, closing some client as well, etc. It helped me also to build a network, I would say, meeting like tier 1 people, tier 1 speakers, etc. So I would say, it's just about what you want to do with your life. Do you want to do only like classical employee job, or do you want to go beyond that? And in terms also of intellectual curiosity, I would say, I'm learning a lot because of that, in terms of new ideas, in terms of inspiring people. For example, we did the biggest event so far in La Maison de l'IA from Lafayette family 2 weeks ago. There was Julien Cordonniou from 20VC, Roxane Varza, super inspiring people. And as I said before, it's those kinds of initiatives also help you to meet those kind of people. At some point, if I build my company, I'm already in the radar. I know them a bit, so for sure it helped me. And then the topic is just how you find the time. But I mean, if you want to hustle, if you want to grow as a person, you find you find the balance.
Nice. Amazing. And what's the future for early builders? We're quite friendly with the builders and operators team. We had Adil from Anomaly Space. And it feels like everybody, who's building these communities has somewhere that they want to take it, potentially investing in some of the companies that get spun out of it. Is that what you're thinking?
I think the main point we want to focus on and what we are not seeing that much in so many communities is quality. When you build such initiative, you can be tempted to open the community quite a lot of people, but not be selective. And we want a community, so it's basically build around a WhatsApp, and then we run community-only event, public event for public, and we want in the community only tier 1 people, because we believe that when you start meeting like people like tier 2, tier 3 people don't get most out of it, So we want to be super selective in the people we add to the community, meaning like gathering all the early operators in Paris, from the top early stage startup backed by the top VC. Same in Berlin, and this is the feedback we are receiving. Like we are highly selective in terms of people we add. We are highly selective in terms of speakers. And the idea is to basically build a community that help early operators navigate their journey in Europe. And you're talking about other initiatives, probably operators and friends. I mean, our purpose is not to then have some deal flows and invest in those companies. I would say it's just more to expand in Europe and help people also gather together. We saw like some people coming from Germany in our last event in Paris. Globally it's more to build a pan-European community, focus around quality, and to grow as operators and probably later on as a founder.
Amazing. Can you walk us through the expansion to London then? You mentioned that you guys wanted to open, I guess, like a hub or start running events over here. Like, how would that work? How would that look?
Yeah. So I think 2 things. First, we're going to open the community to London in Q4 with our first event. We will have the first employee of Revolut, Alan Chang, and the first employee of N26, Alex Weber, so that they can give us a bit about their journey, just to run a flagship event. And then once we create a bit that brand, attract the first profile, the idea is that we run the community through batch. So every 6 months, we have a new batch. We had like 20 to 30 people we're highly selective, and then we increase the community every 6 months. So yeah, I would say the idea is to run a first big event, to raise the early builders flag, and then create a first batch, super selective, super specific around like early employees. And yeah, it's quite exciting.
Nice.
Very exciting.
Very cool. You keep mentioning sort of this selective process that that would allow me, for example, to come into the early builders community. For those listening, a lot of our audience is based in London that would probably love to be in the early builders community. What are the signs you're looking for? Right? How do I get into the early builders community?
I think two things. First, how do you get into it is like we have basically a form where you can fill your info, or you can just reach out directly. Happy to have a quick chat about it. And then the second point is how we select those people. I think we are especially looking for people that are quite early in their company journey, meaning if you are employees number 50, you don't have the same challenge, So we especially want the people in the community that, are usually before employee number 10, number 15, because they have the same problematics, I don't know, if you are at employee 50, you're probably gonna build a team, scale a team from, 5 million AR to 15. Now, usually the challenge are more early than that in the community. And then how selective we are. We do classical VC, I would say, background check. We check the company they are working for, the VC they back them. And yeah, we essentially select the people based on those data points.
Insane. Very, very cool.
And you can apply now, right? Can you apply for it?
Yeah,
now?
for sure. The idea is that we're gonna open the community in Q4, but for sure we start to have some discussion with several people right now, and add them later to the first batch. So for sure.
And is it specific to sort of like operational and generalist roles, or is it anyone from any department, product engineering? What are you looking for?
It's a good point. I think initially I would say 80 to 90% of the people we have in the different batch are like a generalist profile, and we are opening more and more the community to more like product and techie profile. So to be honest, we are open to add everyone to the community. I think perhaps just the point is that the challenge that we are seeing on the day-to-day of the community, on the workshop we are running, a bit not super focused on product and tech, but this is something we want to evolve a bit and change a bit in the coming months.
So that sort of typical profile, you have like chief of staffs, founders associates, that type of like, as you said, Swiss Army knife thing.
Operation, this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it was always, when we were doing Embark, it was always super hard. It sounds like you guys want to push into a more, how do we increase the technical scope of members here, right? And it was always a really hard thing. I think our community was maybe 70-30, 80-20, commercial, chief of staff, founders associate, early ops, to like a 20 sort of founding engineer type, right? It was always a hard thing to balance. I'd love to hear like, early employee for you. You've been an early employee at Fleet. You speak to all, over 160 early employees at Early Builders. What is that early employee role? What is that chief of staff, that founders associate, that first, second hire? And why should more people in the space be looking for it?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think I will start with your second question. For me, it has been the most rewarding job ever. I think you learn to do a bit of everything. You learn first how to hire people, how to sell, how a P&L is composed, what's the margin, how to run like within difficult times, how to motivate yourself on a regular basis also, because you are quite autonomous, you have a lot of responsibilities. Sometimes it's not easy, but I think it's by doing the hard things that you learn a lot. And then what's the typical early employee? I would say it's someone that is super curious, that is used to take some risk, that takes some new ownership, He's not afraid of failing sometimes, learning also, because we say learning by doing, but sometimes you fail, and someone that is super autonomous, that is, I think the main word is ownership. You take a problem, you solve it, you go to the end of that, and then you learn by taking new ownership, growing, perhaps at some point having a team, etc. So I would say it's a bit like a founder beast, I'm seeing like a lot of people that sometimes see their job just as employee. I think us as an early employee, we see more than that. We want to push the company quite far. And this is something similar to a founder. You want the company to grow, to attract the best talent, to close the best logo, and you care a lot with the company. And I think that's essentially what an early employee is.
And do you think it's a great training ground to go on and be a founder?
Excellent question. I think it's because, as I said before, you learn to do a lot. I think it's the case when you're working with excellent founders, because you have so many companies right now, and I think the thing that make the difference is like how good is your founder. If you learn with tier 2 people, I believe that you will learn to be a tier 2 person. So I would say it's the best way to be a founder later if you learn close by, an excellent person. However, the downside is that sometimes you don't go super in depth into, like one specific area, one specific department, such as, products. So there is a lot of positive side, but it has some downside. So yeah, I would say at some point, if you believe that you are more like a techie or product guys because you have the skills, I think that people should not be afraid of evolve towards owning a specific department, But if you believe that you are someone generally super curious that is ready to work on a lot of different topics, yeah, having that scope is the right thing to be later on a founder. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that isn't really spoken about, but I think one of the hardest things I imagine about joining as a really, really early employee. I joined as the 30th employee at the first startup I joined. But you have to have all the skills of an amazing VC to be able to pick a winner, right? To pick the tier 1 founders. VCs get to make 10, 20 bets a year, and they hope that one of them is right. They hope they pick one amazing company. If you're an early builder, an early employee, you get to pick once every 2, 3, 4 years, and you've got to really hope that works out, because if it does, and you're like the first employee at Revolut, it's going to be game changing, absolutely life changing for you. I think one of the really interesting things is both about equipping and enabling young operators and builders on how to try and pick winners, and then secondly, it's when do you accept or call it a day. So if you've been building a company for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, at what point do you need to realize that this isn't going to be a rocket ship? And at what point do you need to try and find the next thing to go to try and accelerate your career? I think those are the hard things of being like a
tough question,
an early operator.
Yeah, totally agree. I think it's essentially a bet, I would say, on the character of your founder. And if we go back to our initial question, which was when we ran, like difficult times, I knew that my founder were excellent because of several things. Also, it's a bit of gut, and I knew that at some point we would find a solution. It doesn't mean that I was always like 100% confident. It would be lying saying that, but it's more like, yeah, at some point I understand the difference between a good founder and an excellent one. So I trust them. And when you trust people, even if sometimes it's not like growing like a lot, you trust that you will find a solution together. But I think it's some question that you should ask yourself quite quickly, If you're not growing for 2 years and you didn't ask yourself the question and you just want to keep pushing because you want to keep pushing, doesn't make sense, So, yeah, I think it's more like, do you believe in your founder? And you should ask yourself the question quite early.
Yeah, you've got to have conviction. And I guess like VCs would say the same thing. But look, I think we're out of time, Baptiste.
Fresh out of luck, fresh out of time.
But look, if we can be involved or help at all with your London launch, let us know, because obviously I don't think any of us are early enough to join the community, but we have a platform and an audience of a lot of people building in a lot of cool UK companies. So if we can help at all, just let us know, and we would love to to see it be a success.
Yeah.
We love what you're doing.
Let's get you back on for a recap of the first event as well.
Yeah.
Just
With
before,
pleasure.
maybe just after.
With pleasure, guys.
Awesome. All right, dude.
See you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks
man.
a lot, guys.
Thanks.
See you.
Bye.